you get to the other end of the 7-hour journey there, and I am left exactly where I was with Hellblade 1, where I think this is a 6.5. Like, this is an okay video game. It is gorgeous, and it's technically wonderful, and the performances are great, and the mocaps, all of that is true. But when it is, you are at the sticks, it is so dull. I just, like, okay, now we've removed the annoyance for Greg of people attacking you, but then you're just into this combat system that is just, I can be half asleep playing it, right? Where and they changed the parry window. I saw other reviewers complain about this. I told you in a conversation where I'm like, I'm not the Perry Poppy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that guy. But I
don't
still
like how it feels.
They're doing something here, and you were like, I think they might be making it cinematic, where even if you parry right, sometimes they're still making it seem like you didn't or whatever.
I think so. Yep.
And so again, like, that's a choice that I get to make these feel like every battle's by the skin of your teeth kind of thing. But really, as a player, it would just annoy me. Like, well, what did I do wrong? Or did I do something wrong? Did I not do anything wrong? And so, honestly, at the end of the game, like, we're talking the final, like, 2 battles and then the final boss battle. Not because of difficulty at all, but because I went in and checked. I was like, this is interesting. I let the game play itself. And I just watched it happen. Because you can do it where you can go in and set combat to. You don't even play combat. They'll just play it and fight it for you. And it was the thing of watching it and, okay, she parried there, and they did do the attack. So, no, it wasn't on me. That's what's going on, blah, blah. But doing that and being like, I'm getting more out of this than I was doing it. Because doing it, all I'm thinking of, like, this isn't fun. This isn't a fun way to play this game, right? And watching it, I was fine. And I think that was one of the things that I was like, again, in this very interesting, cool new world of the Daily Games Cast, able to go read what people are saying about it, right? And over on GameSpot, Jessica Cogswell and hers is lined up perfectly with me, right? Based on its new naming convention and the use of Saga in Hellblade 2's title, and Microsoft's acquisition of Ninja Theory following the success of Senua's Sacrifice, it seems as if Hellblade is stated to be a series as well as a staple in Xbox's first-party lineup. That said, at this point, I don't exactly understand where the series is headed, if not to the box office. There are plenty of games that prove games can be art, but as some studios lean harder into proving that one specific way, as the studios lean harder into proving that in one specific way that cribs from Hollywood, we're seeing some games that feel afraid of being games. With too much focus on cinematics and too little on creating an experience that is engaging, Senua Saga fails to reach the same highs as its predecessor, even if it looks stunning whilst trying. Like, that nails it for me.
Yeah, like, I feel like the combat's not working for me and, like, feels dull and feels very understated, and the puzzles aren't working for me and they feel understated. And so what's left is just the story experience, the narrative experience. And so I am left with a similar thing of, yeah, then why isn't this a movie? Why isn't this a book? Why isn't this an audio experience? What about this as a video game makes it special as a video game?
These are interesting questions. What is a game meant to be? What difference is there between how we tell stories in games versus how we tell stories in poetry or song? Would the story of Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga have been more effective as a film? In some ways, we can answer that last question pretty easily, because there is a film that tells a similar story. Like Hellblade 2, The Northman is a tale about sailing across the sea in a slaver's ship to face the source of your trauma. Both are set in the Middle Ages. Both offer stylish cinematography of the barren yet beautiful Iceland. Both involve combat that, although sparse, is graphic and gory. Both explore Norse mythology and blur the line between what is real and what is imagined. Both Senua and Amleth seek to put an end to the bloodshed of the Vikings. The only difference here is that Senua's solution comes through understanding, using her unique way of seeing the world to mend divides, whereas revenge is Amleth's tool, delivered through savagery and torment. Both stories are well told. Both stories were enjoyable to experience. But if I had to pick one over the other, I would pick The Northman. Not because Hellblade's gameplay was too shallow or unenjoyable, but because for me, Amleth's vengeance was simply more satisfying than Senua's empathy. I feel similarly about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off and Thirsty Suitors. Despite the name, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is an anime about a girl in her early 20s named Ramona. After the disappearance of Scott, she is forced to confront her exes, understand the hurt she has caused them, the insecurities that ravage them. Along her journey, she helps mend that pain, which allows them to move on. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is funny, ridiculous, and full of personality. It pays homage to the video games, music, comic book, and skater culture of the late 90s and early 2000s. And it ends in an epic final battle that allows the main characters to make peace with who they are. Thirsty Suitors is a video game about a girl in her early 20s named Jala. After breaking up with her latest girlfriend, she returns home to clean up the mess she left behind, and is forced to confront her exes, understand the hurt she has caused them, the insecurities that ravage them. Along her journey, she helps mend that pain, which allows them to move on. Thirsty Suitors is funny and ridiculous and full of personality. It pays homage to the video games, music, and skater culture of the late 90s and early 2000s, and it ends in an epic final battle that allows the main characters to make peace with who they are. These are two stories, unique in their own right, but very similar. Both equally as enjoyable. The only difference is that Thirsty Suitors' approach to telling this kind of story is one that I haven't experienced before. A blend of Scott Pilgrim, Pokemon, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and Vemba. An experience that pulls from countless others, but finds its own identity through gameplay. Video games and movies have an interesting relationship. The roots of video games come from puzzle solving, twitch reflexes, and skill, but as they venture further into the realm of telling stories, they look to film for inspiration. A heightened focus on cinematography and writing, a larger investment in motion capture and recognizable actors. Until Dawn wouldn't exist without the countless cliches of teen horror flicks, but makes a name for itself through interactivity and choice. In the same way that Thirsty Suitors allows you to decide if Jala mends her relationships or repeats mistakes of the past, Until Dawn allows you to influence whether this cast of characters survives the night or dies along the way. It makes sense for video games to look to cinema for guidance. Of all the modern storytelling mediums, the works of Hollywood are the most respected, both as art and entertainment. But the tides are shifting, where once video games were looked at as no more than cheap gimmicks in the eyes of cinema.
Pac-Man is not bad. I created him to bring joy to all the people of the world. They have brainwashed him. Deeper down, he's kind, gentle. Someone you can tell your troubles to or grab a hamburger with.
Their worlds are now making waves for a whole new audience. The Last of Us, the Mario movie, and now Fallout all prove that video games are just as adept at telling stories as any other medium, and that they're translatable. In the same way that Until Dawn found a way to adapt the tropes of slasher films into a game, Fallout finds a way to adapt the difficult choices, combat, and companions of the Fallout series into television.
I believe, I know, I made the right choice.
And it's paid off. Fallout is now Amazon Prime's second most watched show of all time. They treated the source material with respect and introduced it to a wider audience. So, if great movies can be great games, and great games can be great television, what is it that differentiates them? Like the great city of New York, television and film have existed for quite some time now. They've established what they are and what they aren't. They have rules and structure, Every episode of The Big Bang Theory plays out the same way. There's a premise. That premise is used to set up various scenarios for telling jokes. Maybe a smaller secondary story is told alongside it. Then before the allotted 30-minute time slot is up, the situation is resolved, without the characters or the greater world changing all that much. Occasionally a plot point lasts for a few episodes or a season, but that's about it. Despite 12 years and 279 episodes between them, there's very little difference between the rhythm of the first and last episodes of The Big Bang Theory. Yet, it's one of the most successful sitcoms ever. That's not to say that there isn't room to be creative and try something new within television and film, but overall, the structure of it is set in stone. Because why change what works? Video games, on the other hand, are much like the Wild West. Lawless. There are some rules, but that doesn't stop storytellers from breaking them and rewriting the game for everyone at any moment. Until Dawn is a movie with quick time events and dialogue choices. Thirsty Suitors is too, but adds in skateboard challenges, cooking, and turn-based battles, where instead of using Thundershock and tackle, you flirt and impress. The original Hellblade does neither. It focuses on walking through detailed environments, solving puzzles that warp your sense of reality, and real-time combat against figments of your imagination. Hellblade warns you that with every death, rot will creep up Senua's arm. If that rot reaches her head, your save data will be erased. Gamers have been trained to take a warning like this seriously, but it's a lie. Told by the developers to elicit fear in falsehoods, to better understand the psychosis and inability to know what to believe that Senua herself feels. It's a clever and simple way of breaking the established rules of the medium to better put the player in the shoes of the protagonist.
All of her suffering will have been for nothing.
That's what I love about video games. They constantly reinvent the wheel, challenge the player's expectations, find new ways of telling stories. Because gamers aren't as willing to accept a formula that isn't iterated on. They want new mechanics, better graphics, more content, which is why Hellblade 2 leans further into its visual fidelity and cinematic ambitions than its predecessor. Which leads to questions about whether it would have been better suited as a film. Because when you're constantly trying to evolve the way you tell stories, the results can be hit or miss. Sometimes the vision doesn't pan out. It doesn't connect with people. But that's also why video games are so exciting. Because even if they aren't always the best way to tell a story, they are consistently the most innovative and refreshing way to tell a story. They provide the most opportunity to do something that has never been done before. I'm trying to find a balance of these two approaches when I'm making my videos. In some sense, I'm trying to find a formula, a recipe I can repeat each time, a weekly analysis of a certain element of storytelling broken down and considered, with a structure that is familiar and enjoyable, just like The Big Bang Theory.
And what kind of doctor removes shoes from asses?
Depending on the depth, that's either a proctologist or a general surgeon.
Because there is good in finding something you like, and knowing that more is coming. But I'm also trying to innovate with each video. Experiment with the range of music I'm using, the way I deliver my scripts. Do I want to lean more into the educational side of this type of content, like Game Maker's Toolkit?
So how do developers go about balancing a game in the first place? Well, the first consideration is trade-offs.
Or the satirical side, like Dunkey.
Before we go any further, I want to say that this is the first time I've played Minecraft. I know, so don't be mad at me if I don't know how to craft the blade of El Diablo, okay? Whatever you freaking Minecraft idiots are doing.
Maybe somewhere in the middle, like Girlfriend Reviews.
A reveal of what it's like to live with someone who plays Helldivers 2. This is a salute to Helldivers 2.
My last couple of videos have been around 20 to 30 minutes long, but can I make them half as long and still deliver an exciting topic with clear points? Like Hellblade 2, I'm currently playing around with what's possible and figuring out what my formula will be. And like Hellblade 2, that might mean that some of my videos don't quite hit that mark either. But that's also what makes them fun to make. Finding that room to be creative and experimental. To make something that feels like nothing else out there.